Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome into my PM live stream. This is going to be my third live stream of the season. I am getting my camera adjusted here. Sorry about that. So, anyways, I hope you guys are doing well, and it's good to see all of you. And hopefully, a lot of you can make it in here for the live stream. If not, maybe you're catching this video later. Either way, I got some really good information in here. And today we're talking running backs. So we're going to be going over my top rankings. Now, if you want more of my rankings, all you got to do is join the Patreon. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later and how we're doing that. But I'm going to get started right here with my running back rankings. And I'm going to start with the first player on my list, and that is Saquon Barkley. Now, with Saquon, obviously have a guy that touched the ball like 350 times last season. I mean, the workload was through the roof. This is very much why he rushed for 2,000 yards, why he was the running back one in all of fantasy. He's an elite talent running behind an elite offensive line, getting elite volume as both a rusher and a pass catcher. So naturally he went off. But what we tend to see in fantasy is players coming off seasons like this typically regress a little bit or even a lot or get hurt because they touch the ball so freaking much the season before that them sustaining that kind of production is a little bit difficult. So Saquon might be one of those guys that we draft early and he gets hurt, or he falls off a cliff production-wise because they just can't sustain that level of production and keep him on the field. So with all of that being said, he's still my number one because of the situation that he's in. Like I said, elite offensive line. He's going to have relatively the same role in his offense this year. He's going to be rushing the ball darn near 25 times a game, touching the ball darn near 30 times a game. We know that his big playability is second to none. And so I'm going to have him as my number one ranked running back. But much like CMC, the number one ranked running back coming into the last season, there is definitely some risk attached to him. So if you wanted to take a wide receiver early, which is what I'm recommending in most drafts, you can do that and wait on some of these other guys. So my number two, and I'm already breaking consensus here a little bit, is Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, if Barkley gets hurt, who would be the running back you target? Shipley or A.J. Dillon? Shipley for sure. I think A.J. Dillon is he's mainly going undrafted. So I'm going to be targeting Shipley. I think that he's going to get pretty much 80% of the production if Saquon goes down. Number two on my list is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. So Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a guy who, like I said, I'm already breaking consensus. But this is a guy who could basically break fantasy football this year. I mean, we're going to see a little bit less of David Montgomery this year on the goal line, I think. So Jahmyr Gibbs' touchdown upside should go through the roof. I mean, this dude scored 16 touchdowns last year, and that was with David Montgomery getting 12 of his own. So if they use Jahmyr Gibbs more on the goal line this year, which they've already said they're going to do, his touchdown numbers could be crazy. This dude could score 20 touchdowns. I think out of all the running backs in the league, if anybody's going to score 20 touchdowns, Jahmyr Gibbs is the most likely. If he scores 20 touchdowns, he's going to be the RB1. There's absolutely no question about it that he will be the RB1 in every single format if he scores 20 touchdowns. But even if he scores 15 or 16, given the inherent upside due to the fact that he's an elite pass catcher and he's going to dominate for PPR and half PPR formats, which is what most of us play in, this dude's an absolute money pick, and I think he has a higher ceiling than Bijan Robinson. I just do. He's in a much better offense. The touchdown upside is so much higher, and he's going to be used on the goal line more this year. So I'm going to be taking Jahmyr Gibbs ahead of Bijan. I'm one of the only people, and I think that the reason that Bijan is going ahead of him is just because he has more of the prototypical workhorse build. People are biased towards that, and yeah, I just think that people are being a little bit biased towards the way certain running backs look. Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't necessarily look like a workhorse, but he's got the power and the speed and everything he needs to be an elite workhorse back. If the volume goes up this year, which I think it will, we're looking at a dude who could be easily the running back one in fantasy. Number three on my list is going to be Bijan Robinson. So, you look at this guy, and obviously he's one of the best prospects that came out of the draft in a while. When he got drafted, pretty much was the best prospect since Saquon Barkley. This dude is a one-of-a-kind running back. He's definitely one of the better running backs in the league as far as yards per carry efficiency. He's shown to be very viable in the pass-catching game. Obviously, we want to see this offense take a tick up. If we want him to be as good as Saquon or as good as Jahmyr Gibbs, we want Bijan to score more touchdowns, right? The touchdown numbers were fine last year, but, if he's going to be the running back one, probably has to score 14 or 15 touchdowns, meaning we need the offense to improve a little bit. It was a very good sign that Tyler Algier started getting used less over these, past year and a half, basically. So I like Bijan to, be an elite back this year, definitely, but I have Gibbs ahead of him. Anyways, good season coming for Bijan. That's why I have him in my top five. You have Bijan as your running back 1, Jamie? I can see it. I mean, obviously, most people that release fantasy content have them as their running back 2. So, the path to him being the running back 1 on the season is definitely there. Number 4 on my list is going to be Christian McCaffrey. Now, people are taking McCaffrey a little bit lower than this. I mean, most people have McCaffrey lower than this in their rankings. But if you look at Christian McCaffrey's history in fantasy football, when this dude stays on the field, there's nobody who compete with him. And he's going to be either the running back 1 or the running back 2 if he stays healthy. The reason I ranked him at 4 and not 1 or 2 is because of the extreme injury risk, right? Because this is obviously a guy who, he's literally missed over half of his career in the past 5 years. He's missed literally half his game. So obviously the injury risk is through the roof, but the ceiling is higher than anybody else because he's a guy who could come out and get darn near Saquon and Bijan Robinson workload in the rushing game, and he can average 9 or 10 targets a game, even more so than Jahmyr Gibbs. So he's basically a fusion between, the rusher that Saquon is and a pass catcher that Jahmyr Gibbs is, put into one running back. There's a reason why he has the highest ceiling of all time, of any fantasy running back of all time. This dude had a fantasy season where he scored 29 points per game. I mean, for crying out loud, this dude's ceiling is higher than any player at any position in fantasy by a long shot, but I have him at number 4 because we're having to bake in the risk with the injury. I think the 49ers offense is going to be fine. I think they're going to use Christian McCaffrey heavily. He's looking like he's going to be used a lot more in the offense. Or not a lot more. I just he's going to be used the same amount as, pre-injury Christian McCaffrey. So the volume's going to be there in the rushing and the passing game. The touchdown upside is there. He probably has the next highest shot outside of Jahmyr Gibbs at scoring 20 touchdowns this season. This dude's going to freaking go off if he stays healthy. Next player on my list is going to be Ashton Jeanty. Now we have a guy here in Ashton Jeanty that, his first year in the league, he's got a coaching staff that's going to want to run the ball like crazy. This entire offense is going to run through Ashton Jeanty, and watch out for this dude. This dude could be the running back 1. The upside's absolutely there. There's any player in my top 5 could be the running back 1. In fact, I think at the running back position, it goes a little bit deeper. And I think literally anyone on out of my top 12 could probably be the running back 1, to be honest with you. The path is there for all of them. But Ashton Jeanty could very well lead the league in touches at the running back position this year. Is he in a good offense? No. That's the only reason why I don't have him higher. But when you combine the fact that he's the best prospect in a while, and he's running in a system that's going to basically feature him as the number 1 player in the offense. I mean, this dude's going to absolutely go off. My only concern is the touchdown upside. I just don't think he has nearly the touchdown upside of Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, or Christian McCaffrey. So I couldn't put him ahead because, if you look at it every season, the running back that finishes atop always has a ridiculous amount of touchdowns. I don't think that's there for Jeanty. So I think he's going to have to get lucky on the touchdown end to be the running back 1, but it's definitely in the range of outcomes because he could have the most volume in the entire league at the running back position. So I'm going to be drafting Ashton Jeanty with confidence at the end of round 1. Jeanty is your dynasty running back 1, Jamie. Well, for dynasty, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. I mean, I'm still putting some guys ahead of him, but I love Ashton Jeanty for dynasty. Derrick Henry is going to be next on my list. So, Derrick Henry, he's kind of in the same category as Saquon and Christian McCaffrey. I mean, I feel like the injury risk is high. I mean, this guy is so freaking old. He touches the ball so freaking much. The rushing volume is through the roof. And he just runs so hard and aggressively. Now he runs people over because he's bigger than everybody else, and he's one of the most talented, if not the most talented rushers in the game. But this dude is going to be 32 this season? He's old as shit. He has to fall off a cliff at some point. I'm baking that into his value because if this was a prime Derrick Henry running behind the Ravens offensive line, I would probably have, assuming all running backs were healthy, right? I would have Christian McCaffrey number 1, and I would have Derrick Henry number 2. But I'm baking in the injury risk with Christian McCaffrey and baking in the injury risk with Derrick Henry. So, that's the reason why he's my number 6. But if you look at the upside this season, it's absolutely through the roof, just like it was last year. He's running behind a good offensive line with an elite rushing threat playing quarterback, meaning all eyes can't be on Derrick Henry. They've got to account for Lamar Jackson rushing the ball. this could be another player that scores a ton of touchdowns this year and finishes as a top 3 back, but I'm baking in the injury risk. That's why I have him at number 6. Number 7 on my list is going to be Jonathan Taylor. Now, Jonathan Taylor, I mean, if you look at it, if Anthony Richardson plays quarterback for this team, he's kind of in a similar situation to Saquon Barkley, where he has a super elite, not just an elite, but a super elite rushing quarterback as a threat. And this is always going to increase running back efficiency. You can look at the past 10 years of fantasy football, and whenever running backs get more mobile quarterbacks, their yards per carry efficiency goes up by almost an entire yard per carry. So obviously the rushing efficiency, if Anthony Richardson plays, is going to be crazy for Jonathan Taylor. Now, the other question is, if Anthony Richardson is the starter for this team, how efficient is the offense going to be as a whole, right? What kind of touchdown upside is Jonathan Taylor going to have, right? Can he score 15 touchdowns in this offense? I'm not sure. That's why I have him a little bit lower than some of the other guys, but I firmly believe that he will lead the league in yards per carry efficiency if Anthony Richardson is the quarterback, because teams are going to be focused on Anthony Richardson and stopping the run game from the quarterback position. Jonathan Taylor is going to be absolutely going off as far as yards per carry efficiency. I think he can average 5.5 to 5.8 yards per carry, something absolutely crazy like that over an entire season sample. So I love taking this guy. I just think the touchdown upside is a little bit limited because I'm not sure of Anthony Richardson's arm talent. Now, if Daniel Jones plays quarterback, he's not as much of a rushing threat, but he still has enough rushing upside to provide good yards per carry efficiency for Jonathan Taylor. So I think no matter who starts at quarterback, Jonathan Taylor is going to have good yards per carry efficiency. I'm just not sure on the touchdown upside, no matter who plays, because I really don't trust either quarterback from a real-life perspective, to be honest with you. Next player on my list is going to be De'Von Achane. Now, it feels criminal not having this guy higher. I mean, before Tua got hurt last year, it certainly seemed like De'Von Achane was basically going to be like the RB1, right? So, I feel like this is one of those rankings that's going to bite me. Every year I make rankings and, I look at them at a certain point and I'm like, there's always that one guy that I have in there that I just know is going to bite me. And he always does it. So it's like, you got to go with your gut, right? I have a feeling De'Von Achane is probably going to finish higher than this, but I just couldn't find anywhere on my list to put him. I mean, I can't put him I can't talk. I can't put him ahead of these guys that I have, because, I've explained the reasoning already. But if you look at this dude, he's probably the most elite wide receiving back in the entire game, right? Jamie thinks that Wright gets snaps and Ollie Gordon can take away goal line work. I mean, yeah, it's certainly possible, but I don't know. I mean, like, if you look at it last year, they really didn't use Jalen Wright at all. Now, obviously, he's going into year 2, but, like, I don't know. I think what we really should do is, from best ball perspectives, we should cup these guys together. I usually don't recommend cupping in best ball because I want to draft other people's handcuffs, and, I want their running back to get hurt and my cuff to go off. But this is one of those things where, if Jalen Wright comes in and ends up getting used a lot, he could have some pretty insane yards per carry efficiency if this offense returns to the form it was just 2 years ago when they put up 70 points in 1 week and De'Von Achane was averaging like 12 yards a carry. So, in best ball, it might not be a bad idea to cuff De'Von Achane to either Wright or Ollie Gordon, but I'm not going to let those guys scare me away from Achane in my everyday redraft league, because I think he has a legit upside to be the RB1. Yeah, I mean, after all, this is one of the most efficient backs from a yard per carry efficiency standpoint that we have ever seen in fantasy. All right, guys, don't be afraid to interrupt the rankings I got going here. Ask away with all your fantasy football questions. I want to blow this chat up, and so ask as many questions as possible. Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is going to be my number 9. Wright only played the game at 45% of snaps, averages. Yeah, I mean, the usage just wasn't there for Jalen Wright last year. We're going to need to see that go up. But from a best ball standpoint, definitely not a bad idea to cuff him to De'Von Achane. Because, I mean, you're getting Jalen Wright almost for free in best ball now anyway, right? So, number 9 on my list is going to be Josh Jacobs. I mean, this dude was just an absolute workhorse this past year. They never really fully gave Aaron Jones that role. They would only let, him split a backfield, and they probably should have given him that role. But, look, Josh Jacobs is the workhorse in this offense. It's an offense that's obviously very efficient. They added Matthew Golden in the draft. This is a very loaded wide receiver room. I think we see a bounce back season from Jordan Love from a fantasy standpoint. This dude is going to put up some good fantasy numbers this year. He's going to lead a very efficient offense. And no matter what they do, we know Josh Jacobs is getting his volume. Even if they cut down the volume from last year, I think that them passing a little bit more, which they probably will do with all these wide receivers, is only going to increase the overall efficiency of the offense and give Josh Jacobs more touchdown upside. They're still going to be giving him the ball heavily within the 10-yard line and just in goal-to-go situations. So I think Josh Jacobs has some pretty serious upside for this season. Like I said, like pretty much any running back in my top 12 is like just, they have an outside shot to be the running back one. You like Jacobs over Taylor? Well, I will say this. I think that if you look at just strictly the touchdown upside, I think that Josh Jacobs does have higher touchdown upside than Jonathan Taylor. I'm just a lot more certain on the Green Bay offense and the overall efficiency of the offense and ability to provide touchdowns. That's why I have I have Jonathan Taylor ahead of Josh Jacobs because of the yards per carry efficiency that I think he's going to have with Anthony Richardson. But I'm definitely more certain on the touchdown upside for Josh Jacobs. So I could certainly see your argument. I mean, Josh Jacobs has a real shot at scoring 14, 15 touchdowns, where I think that that's an outside shot for Jonathan Taylor. I think Jonathan Taylor very well could lead the league in yards per carry efficiency and have 100-yard games like it's nothing. Next player on my list is going to be Breece Hall. Now, most people don't have Breece Hall in their top 10, and it's kind of funny because this dude was the consensus running back 2 last season on draft boards and Underdog. I got to sneeze. It was a consensus number 2 on draft boards and Underdog. I mean, it was pretty much going Christian McCaffrey as a consensus 1 and Breece Hall as a consensus 2. And this is what's so funny about fantasy. Every single year, when you look at the ADP and you look at players going in the first round, it always seems like none of them are going to bust. It always seems like that. You could look at every first-round player this year, and there's probably not one of them that you look at and are like, oh, this player's going to bust. They're not going to return ADP value because, well, that's why they're going in the first round. Everybody thinks they're going to go off, but almost every year, at least 50% of these players bust, right? And that's what happened to Breece Hall last year. I mean, you look at him, and he was going as the consensus running back 2, right after Christian McCaffrey and right before Bijan Robinson. And this dude just busted through no real explanation for it. I mean, you figure with Aaron Rodgers, being the quarterback, he's not a mobile quarterback. He's going to check down to Breece Hall all the time. But it just never really worked out. He never really put it all together like he did 2 seasons ago, his first season coming back from a torn ACL. So, yeah, I don't know. I have Breece Hall bouncing back this year. I think that, obviously having a mobile quarterback is going to help his yards per carry efficiency. I think the touchdown upside will be there. I think the offense will be better than people expect. Bino Osino, how do you think running back by committee will go in New York? So, okay, I'm assuming you're talking about the Jets. I don't know. It's kind of weird because, the coaching staff is basically saying that they're gonna split up. We've heard multiple reports, right? We've heard the reports saying that they're gonna split up the backfield and split up the majority of the carries and everything like that. And we've heard reports saying that we need to give the ball to Breece Hall as much as possible. I personally think that when Breece Hall is popping the ball off for 6 yards a carry, running the ball with Justin Fields being a running threat, I think that they're not going to be able to bench the guy. I mean, the dude's going to pop off for 6 yards a carry, right? His yards per carry efficiency is going to be right up there with Jonathan Taylor. And, why would we take a guy out of the game that's running the ball that efficiently? So I think that with a mobile quarterback, his yards per carry is going to be too efficient for him not to be the main back and to get a majority of the snaps. So, yeah. Contract year players, Brian Robinson, ETN, Breece Hall, Kenny Walker. Brian Robinson, I'm not sure. Part of me kind of thinks, I don't know, man. Brian Robinson didn't really display the ceiling that I wanted him to display last year. He was really consistent at the first part of the season, but then kind of fell off a little bit and just really wasn't consistent from a really any standpoint, yards per carry efficiency, touchdown upside. I don't know. I think the ceiling is limited based on what we saw last year, but at the same time, he's in an offense that should be providing lots of touchdown upside. If the Commanders are anything like they were last year, it seems like, he would have to regress as far as just overall fantasy output, regress in a good way as far as overall fantasy output, because, he should be getting in the end zone a lot. He's a good running back who has a clear-cut lead role in his offense. Austin Eckler's washed, but you also got to watch out for Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt coming and stealing some production from him. ETN, another very uncertain backfield. There's been rumors of ETN getting traded, but I think those are just rumors. But I don't know. I mean, with Bayshal Tootin there and Tank Bigsby, I feel like it's going to be a running back by committee. I just don't think that ETN's going to get the workload that we wanted to have. Breece Hall, I think Breece Hall is going to explode. I think we see a huge bounce back year coming for him. I mean, that's kind of like what I was just talking about when I was talking about for Breece Hall. This dude's going to be busting big plays like it's nobody's business. Having an elite rushing quarterback playing with him, people are going to have to account for that and account for Justin Fields taking off and running. So Breece Hall should be absolutely just a total monster. And Kenneth Walker. Yeah. Hey, ask any questions you want. Like literally, you can ask any fantasy question you want throughout this live stream. It doesn't have to be related to my running back rankings. And Kenneth Walker. Well, I love Kenneth Walker's big playability. He's shown to obviously lack a little bit in between the tackles, between the 1 and 10 yard line. But obviously, we know that this dude, Kenneth Walker, is one of the fastest running backs in the game. He could break off a 70-yard run at any time. And I really don't think that people are going to use the Hawks are going to use Zach Charbonnet the way that people think they do. Zach Charbonnet's only been shown to be used when Kenneth Walker goes down. And he's an awesome handcuff because of this, because Kenneth Walker can never stay on the field. But as long as Kenneth Walker can stay on the field, this team has a good wide receiving core. Darnold has shown that he can actually lead an efficient offense. We saw it last season. So I think Kenneth Walker could score somewhere between 9 and 10, maybe even 11 touchdowns this year. I do like him. He's not really good enough to crack my top 12, but I do like Kenneth Walker this season. Next player on my list is going to be Kyren Williams. So you look at Kyren Williams, and this is a guy who I don't think a lot of people remember this, but Kyren Williams was going at the 1-2 turn in pre-draft best ball last season. And then there started to be rumors of, Blake Corum is going to be taking his efficiency, and, Kyren Williams is going to be returning punts and all this stuff. I think a lot of y'all probably remember that. And you look at it now and it just seems silly, right? Blake Corum wasn't used at all. Kyren Williams was the main workhorse on the team. And now the overall efficiency of the offense is going to improve exponentially with Davante Adams. I mean, I think that Matthew Stafford could put up, a top 3 or 4 season as far as overall passing yards this year. So with that kind of efficiency, the touchdown upside for Kyren Williams is absolutely insane. He's never been really a killer as far as yards per carry efficiency, but the efficiency is definitely solid. He's going to come out and give you 4.5 yards a carry. Right? Possibility for a crazy amount of touchdowns. And, a lot of the attention is going to have to be on covering these wide receivers. Kyren Williams is going to have holes to run through. And I think the overall efficiency of the offense is going to be absolutely insane. So I like Kyren Williams this year. And that's another good point. Yeah. And we all know that the Rams like to just basically overuse all their players. Puka is going to get 12 targets a game. Davante is going to get 12 freaking targets a game. Realistically, probably 10, but and they will run Kyren into the ground. That's an absolute certainty, especially in goal-to-go situations. They're going to make sure to feed this guy his touchdowns. Next player on my list is going to be Bucky Irving. Now, much like some of the other running backs that I have on this list, it feels criminal to have Bucky Irving this low. I mean, obviously, we've got a guy in Bucky Irving that plays for an offense that's very efficient, and they just added Emeka Egbuka. I mean, this offense is going to be absolutely insane. Baker Mayfield at a certain point last year was looking like an MVP frontrunner. And that's just crazy to say, Baker an MVP frontrunner. But, dude, he was literally looking at for a certain time last year. We've now got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Emeka Egbuka. This offense should be absolutely crazy. Bucky Irving is going to get used in multi-phases of the game. He's going to run the ball a lot. He's going to be used a little bit as a passer. He's going to get in the end zone. So I like Bucky Irving. There's a lot of fantasy content creators that think this guy's going to be a top 5 overall back. So I feel criminal having him as low as I do, but I just couldn't have him ahead of these guys that I have. So I have him at number 12 in my rankings. So any fantasy questions that you guys have, go ahead and ask me. I'm only going as deep as my top 12 running backs today. I'm going to go a little bit deeper a little bit later. And if you want more rankings, you can get them on my Patreon. My Patreon is going to have, so far it has my top 64 rankings. I'm adding to it I was supposed to have my top 100 out by now, but anyways, I have my top 64 rankings on my Patreon. You could also join the league. But any fantasy football questions you have, go ahead and ask me. I'm willing to stay in here as long as the chat's going. So basically, ask away with your fantasy football questions, and I'll answer any question that you might have. Doesn't have to be about running back rankings. Rank these tight ends for redraft: Juwan Johnson, Theo Johnson, Conklin, Arroyo. I actually like Conklin the best. I know he's not ranked the highest, but Conklin and a Justin Herbert offense I like. Then probably Theo Johnson, Arroyo, and Juwan Johnson. As far as Juwan Johnson's concerned, I'm not sure overall efficiency of that offense, bro. I think Juwan Johnson could easily have a season where he comes out and scores like one touchdown. I don't trust it at all. Even though, he's supposedly going to get the volume, but I don't trust the offense. You have Bucky over Achane and Breece. I totally understand it, man. I mean, I totally understand having Bucky higher. There's no way in hell I can have him ahead of Achane, given Achane's receiving upside, but having him over Breece Hall makes perfect sense. But I just think that Breece Hall is going to see a massive bounce-back season. All right, guys, blow up the chat. Ask as many fantasy football questions as you want. No limit. I'll answer all of them. Unfortunately, you probably don't see the option to super chat because YouTube decided to demonetize my channel because I didn't post enough over the last year. So, help me build my way back up the algorithm. Ask me as many questions regarding fantasy football as possible. And let's keep this going. If Arroyo starts over Fant full-time, can he have top 12 upside? I mean, in theory, yes, but I think it's unlikely. Yeah, unlikely. I love the tight end questions, man. I like talking tight ends. They don't get talked about enough. Tight ends, they don't get talked about enough, man. They can be big difference-making players in fantasy, especially in just like an everyday like PPR redraft league. If you have an elite tight end, my gosh, the upside is just absolutely crazy for your team if you hit on your tight end pick. What are my thoughts on the Bears backfield, Rashawn? Well, I don't know. I tell you this. I've drafted a decent amount of DeAndre Swift because, based on where he's going in underdog drafts, he's one of the last viable starting options at the running back position. So by default and because of roster construction purposes, I've drafted a lot of DeAndre Swift. As far as the Bears backfield, DeAndre Swift, Roschon, I don't know, man. I haven't drafted a lot of Roschon Johnson. I probably should draft a little bit more of them. I do take a late round flyer on him every once in a while, but it's definitely a backfield that I don't get excited about because I want to see this offense thrive first so these players can have some touchdown upside. Plus, DeAndre Swift isn't really known to be much of a goal line back, so I feel like based on where they're going in best ball drafts, it's really best to, put these guys together, cuff them together in case Roschon steals DeAndre Swift. Crazy people are fading Mark Andrews. We're all going to look silly. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm as big on Mark Andrews as a lot of other people are. I mean, I think he's kind of aging out, and I don't know. I mean, obviously, he's going to get goal line looks in a good offense. So, touchdowns are basically what make or break a tight end. So, considering his touchdown upside, I think he could be good. But I think that what is he going as, the tight end 8? I think that ADP is actually appropriate for Mark Andrews as a tight end. What are your thoughts on Penix this year? I like him. I like the fact that he can throw on the run. I like the fact that he's got a good running back that's going to open up the ability for Penix himself to run a little bit. We've obviously got Drake London. He showed a good connection with Darnell Mooney. So I think I like Penix to far exceed his ADP, honestly. I mean, he's going as the quarterback 21. As an overall player, I think he looks okay. But, from an ADP perspective, I think the dude should smash his ADP, right? I mean, I feel like he could easily be a top 11 or 12 quarterback, and he's going as quarterback 21. Andrews put up good numbers, top 10, second half last year. Did he really get hit by a car? I don't even remember that. I remember Ricky Pearsall getting shot before the season starts. I don't remember Mark Andrews. When did this news happen? I didn't even know that happened. To be honest with you, I didn't know he got hit by a car 2 weeks before. How did I miss that? That is weird. August 14th, 2024. So you think that's why he broke out in the second half, because he started slow because he got hit by a car? I mean, I guess it's certainly possible. I didn't know the dude got hit by a car. Shit. What's with all these NFL players with like the most ridiculous injuries over the offseason? Getting hit by a car, getting shot. What are these people doing? But Ricky Pearsall was just like he was at CVS, right? He was just getting some at CVS. It's not like he was out late partying and got shot at a club or something. Like, NFL players have the worst luck. Dude, Andrews got hit by a car. How the hell did I not know that? How did I miss that? So weird. Anyway, I still think his ADP is appropriate. Around tight end 8, I think is about right. But yeah, ask questions about any position. I love the tight end talk, quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, doesn't matter. Questions about my rankings, anything like that. Oh, yeah, and if y'all want to join the Patreon League, I know Jamie already joined. The link is all over my channel to my Patreon, and it's in pretty much all of my videos. You can click and join. We have 4 people in the league already, and it's going to fill up pretty fast. I'm guessing it's going to fill up in like the next month or so, maybe 2 weeks. Ingram going to be top 10 in that Joker role for Sean Payton. Yeah, Vino. Yeah. Join the Patreon League, bro. It's gonna be awesome. So it's gonna be $100 buy-in this year and $800 for first. So that's slightly bigger than we played last year. I think I want to up the ante like every year in our Patreon League. Like I want to eventually play for some big bucks, but like I don't want to get to the point where I feel bad if I win, because like I won last year. And I'm not saying that like, hell, I could go the next 10 years without winning the league. Right. But last year when I won, I remember I was kind of like, fuck, I kind of like wanted one of my viewers to win, but it just didn't work out that way. I got really lucky with having Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown on the same team. I also drafted Rashee Rice in the Patreon League last year. But of course, Rashee Rice got hurt. But what I'm saying is, if Rashee Rice had stayed healthy, that would have been the biggest cheat code team of all time. Ingram going to be top 10 in that Joker role for Sean Payton. Yes, I do think Evan Ingram will be a top 10 tight end. Because, if you look at the way this offense runs, I mean, like, the only wide receiver target really is Courtland Sutton. Marvin Mims isn't a target hog. He's a big play-dependent wide receiver. It remains to be seen what some of the new wide receivers are going to do on the team. But yeah, I mean, I think that Evan Ingram is definitely going to be a top 10 tight end. I think he has top 5 or 6 upside, bro. Let's not forget that Evan Ingram just 2 seasons ago led or was close to leading the league in tight end targets back when he played for Jacksonville. So Evan Ingram, he's money, dude. And he's going to be a more efficient offense with a quarterback that, dare I say it, has looked better than Trevor Lawrence in his NFL career, despite the fact that we only have 1 season. I'm not saying for sure yet that he's better than Trevor Lawrence, but in the small sample we have, he's looked like the better NFL quarterback. So, quarterback upgrade for Evan Ingram, it's got to be a good thing. Yeah, Vino, if you're still in here, we're going to be drafting on August 3rd. So about a month before the season. I like to start getting my redraft drafts in August just because I do so many of them. I like to just kind of start getting them going. Last year, we waited till like 2 days before the season. I know that that's slightly better, but I like mixing in some early drafts and stuff like that. I'm on the clock. Rank these 2 running backs: Jaylen Warren, Scatterboo, Najee, and Stevenson. Scatterboo is going to be the lowest. Jaylen Warren and Ramondre. Jaylen Warren and Ramondre. Did I say Jaylen? Jaden Warren and Ramondre. Yeah, I don't really trust Scatterboo to have like the role that people think he's going to have this coming season. I still think that Tyrone Tracy is going to be the main running back in that offense. And then you look at Najee Harris, the dude is a backup running back, really good for Najee. But then obviously, the NFL draft kind of ruined that for him. So, a backup running back that never averages good yards per carry efficiency is not a viable wide receiver. I hate Najee Harris, to be honest with you. I joined already. How do we pay the league? So the league fee is just, you pay me directly. You don't have to worry about paying it yet. As long as you pay before the NFL draft. NFL draft. Before we draft our teams on August 3rd. So you can just hit me on Cash App or PayPal, Venmo, any of the apps basically. And then we pay out at the end of the year. It's going to be $800 for first and $200 for second. And if you don't make the championship, you don't win anything. So it's kind of top heavy, but that's how I like to do it. I want first place to get pretty much all the money. Would you take Warren over Brian Robinson? Man, it's tough. It's tough. That's really, really close. I'm probably going to be leaning with Brian Robinson here just because I trust the Commanders' offense more. I mean, like, I really don't. I mean, like, obviously, I don't know. I'm just not sure what's going to happen with Jaylen Warren's offense. I trust the Commanders' offense a lot more. So I'm going to be going with Brian Robinson. I just think the touchdown upside is so much higher. And I honestly think he's due for some overall regression, just like positive regression, yards per carry efficiency, overall yardage, touchdowns, everything like that. I think he's due for some positive regression in pretty much every way. Anybody who's new, go ahead and you can scroll to the top and see my top 12 running back rankings. They're all on there. So, if you want to see my top 12 running back rankings, but we're pretty much done with the rankings portion of the video. And I'm just doing a live Q&A at this point, answering pretty much an unlimited amount of fantasy questions. I want to keep this chat going. So ask away, ask as many fantasy questions as you want. So, yeah, we are keeping it going. What do you think about the rookie tight ends, Loveland and Tyler Warren? I don't like Loveland's landing spot. I liked him a little bit in pre-draft, although based on where he's going in the draft, there's so many other players in his range that I like more than him that I really wasn't drafting a lot of him. Tyler Warren I like a lot more because I like the landing spot and I like the talent. So, to answer that, I like Tyler Warren. I think that Loveland has absolutely no chance because of too much target share competition, bro. Is there any chance Olave surprises us and balls out this year? Because this guy is super talented. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Olave is one of those players that out of pretty much any player you can take in the draft has so much higher of a ceiling than where he's going as far as his ADP, right? But the problem is, he's in a risky situation, right? He's in an offense that, has a new quarterback. Derek Carr just randomly retired, and now we're, we got a whole new quarterback that we just don't know is going to be good. So he's a big-time risk versus reward player. And I'm going to be making a video soon called High Ceiling Players with Risk, where I'm going to be talking about players that have an insanely high ceiling because of their talent level and their role in the offense, but also come with a lot of a risk. So I'm going to go in detail about Chris Olave on this episode. But is there any chance Olave surprises us and balls out this year? Yes, absolutely. If you remember just 2 seasons ago, this dude was he was crushing and then kind of slowed down towards the end of the season, dealt with some in-game injuries, everything like that, which pisses me off because I almost won one of the weeks in weekly winners, but Olave got hurt in the game. This was 2 seasons ago. I was in like 6th place overall in weekly winners, and Olave went down with an injury. I think it was a shoulder injury mid-game, and it totally screwed me in weekly winners. But I think the dude's going to have an absolutely insane target share this season. You got to figure that the targets for Kamara will drop a little bit. This means more targets for wide receivers. I think that Olave's definitely got a chance to go off. Do you think Mason Taylor can have a Sam Laporta type rookie year? That's a stretch, bro. Sam Laporta's rookie year. I think Sam Laporta's rookie year goes a little bit underappreciated because of what Brock Bowers did last year. Because, you look at, Sam Laporta's rookie year, and at the time it was seen as like, it's something that never happens. In fact, when we were going into the 2023 draft, I was talking about Sam Laporta, hyping him up a little bit, and everyone was like, well, rookie tight ends, they never break out, right? Rookie tight ends never break out. Well, that was the same season where Sam Laporta came out and was the was the tight end 1 in all of fantasy, even ahead of Travis Kelce. So, I mean, the dude absolutely went off. I think that expecting rookies to do that every year is a little bit crazy. I think that expecting him to have a Sam Laporta type rookie year is a pretty big reach. Ranking my hot take from mild to extreme heat. Kendall Fit. Oh, that's not even, bro. That's not even that bold of a take. To be honest with you, I would say that's mild, bro. I mean, he's being drafted as the tight end 3, right? And if you look at his role in the offense, I mean, ever since Brock Purdy has taken over, they've absolutely loved feeding George Kittle the rock. So yeah. Oh, is he really going as a tight end 4? Is Laporta going ahead of him now in drafts? I could have sworn Kittle was going as a tight end 4 or tight end 3. anyways, I don't think that Kittle finishing as the tight end one is crazy at all. So I'm definitely going to rank that as mild. Ev805, good to see you, man. Haven't seen you in a while, mainly because I haven't live streamed in a while. So far, what do you think is the best start draft strategy this year for redraft leagues? I think that going heavy wide receiver is good. See, here's what's going to happen this year, right? Running backs sort of returned to form this past year, right? Like all the most valuable players in running back in fantasy were running backs outside of Jamar Chase. I mean, you had Jamar Chase, then you had like 8 running backs, then you had Justin Jefferson, right? As far as how valuable your fantasy players were. And so I think a lot of people are going to be going robust running back this year. So make sure to get one. You don't want to be left without any running backs, but I still think it's a viable strategy to go wide receiver in your PPR leagues because wide receivers still dominate PPR leagues, in my personal opinion. I think we're going to see a bounce back at the wide receiver position this year. And I also think that last year, running backs were flukishly healthy. I mean, how often do we have all the top running backs in the league stay healthy in the way they did last year? Running backs are very risky assets. And a lot of times they're just going to get hurt. So the problem with that is if you take a running back early and you expect him to carry your fantasy team, there's a good chance that running back gets hurt and you're going to be left weak at the wide receiver position and not even have a true running back one. So I think it's the most viable option is to go with wide receivers early and go something like wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, or wide receiver, running back. But I definitely want to take a running back in one of the first 3 rounds in drafts this year. Definitely wait on tight ends and take advantage of the mid-round quarterbacks. Hold on, I got to plug in my charger here. But take advantage of the mid-round quarterbacks, guys like Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. There was a time where Jalen Hurts was going at the 1-2 turn after his first monster fantasy season. And, people were starting to take quarterbacks like crazy early. But if you look at a lot of the teams that do well in Best Ball Mania and other drafts, they take advantage of the mid-round quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes is still technically a mid-round quarterback this year. Obviously, you guys know who they are. I don't have to list them off. But I definitely think that we're going to be taking advantage of those this year. I think tight end Terrence Ferguson can have a big rookie year. Yes, I think Terrence Ferguson could have a big rookie year. In fact, if you look at the athletic profile for Terrence Ferguson, I mean, the dude absolutely just has awesome physical intangibles. And they're going to have to provide some targets for the tight ends, right? Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua can't take all the targets. You still figure there's going to be some tight end in the offense that gets 5 targets a game and targets within the red zone. This offense is going to be very good. And while Devontae Adams is a red zone target hog, some of the red zone targets got to go to the tight ends. I could see Terrence Ferguson scoring 4 or 5 touchdowns this year. I think that the possibility is certainly there. I think he's going to completely overtake Tyler Higbee as far as the tight ends in that tight end room. Did Kittle really finish with more points per game than Bowers? That's crazy. That's what's funny about looking at overall fantasy finish and fantasy points per game is, it's not always the tight end one that finishes tight end one in fantasy points per game. It's a little different because people miss games and stuff. I've done mocks, and if I don't draft wide receiver first, I don't like them later. I love all running. Yeah, and that's the thing is like there's running backs, and this goes for any format of fantasy. There are running backs throughout every single draft, no matter what format you're in, that are viable options in round, 5, 6, 7, 8, like they just go on down the board. But you get to a point in drafts, and it's typically after round 4 or 5 where the wide receivers are just gross, especially on underdog because wide receivers come at a premium, right? We're definitely going to be, but everyone's drafting wide receivers early there. What I'm saying is even for redraft leagues, and it's good that you're doing your mocks already, even for redraft leagues, we're going to be wanting to go wide receiver early because of this. I'm trying to get to all the questions. If I miss out on your question, don't be afraid to ask me again. I'm going to try to get around to everybody. Hi, mate. Love from Australia. What is up, man? Good to see somebody from all the way across the world. I'm in Dallas, Texas, so we're pretty far apart. But, man, I need to come visit Australia. 14T PPR, you have pick number 14. Who are you taking? So let's see. Pick number 14. So some guys that are going to be on the board around there are, well, if Nico Collins slips, he's going to be my priority at number 14. He might not be there. If not, probably Achane, bro, because Achane's probably still going to be on the board by then. So yeah, or Jonathan Taylor. I'm assuming Derrick Henry is going to be gone in most of your everyday redraft leagues. So Jonathan Taylor or Devon Achane or Nico Collins. Sharpers is in math class right now. I'm glad you're able to multitask, my man. That's awesome. I can't multitask, bro. Puka gets his points through receptions, and Adams will get in the red zone. Stafford have his best year. I think they go pass heavy and less run. Jay Money, I think you're onto something, and I'm glad that you realize that Davante Adams is the red zone target hog on this team. That's why, like, as much as I like Puka in round one, because the dude is just an absolute freak of nature. You know, he obviously has one of the highest ceilings in all of fantasy at the wide receiver position. I love waiting and just drafting Davante Adams because even if Davante Adams has less of a target share, he's probably going to get more targets in the red zone. We have a notorious red zone target hog in Davante Adams. And we saw it in, when Cooper Kupp played on the team, he was the red zone target over Puka. For some reason, they stopped targeting Puka in the red zone. I don't know what it is. The dude's got plenty of size. He runs good routes. I don't understand why they don't target him more in the red zone. But Davante Adams, make no mistake, Davante Adams is the red zone target hog on this team. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, Jay Money, let me get to your other question. Walker, Mixon, and Kamara go round 3 and 4. Who do you like of the three? Walker, Mixon, Kamara. That's tough. I think that Mixon is going to see some negative regression this year. He's aging, but so is Kamara. The only young running back on here is Kenneth Walker, but I don't like his ability to run in between the tackles. I'm not sure about the touchdown upside. I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara. I mean, like I said, I think he'll be targeted a little bit less this year than he was in years past, and I think a lot more targets are going to go to Olave, but Kamara could still come out and be top 3 in the NFL in overall targets and target share at the running back position because he's shown to be like the most targeted wide receiver in fantasy throughout basically his entire career, maybe outside of Christian McCaffrey. This dude just gets targeted so much. We have a young quarterback. He's going to be checking the ball down a fair amount, so I think that the reception totals are going to be there. I don't necessarily trust the offense, but it's not like the Texans or Seattle have top 10 offenses themselves. So if one of those two other guys were in a super elite offense, I would say to go with them over Kamara. But given the receiving upside, I'm going to be going with Kamara. Thoughts on Jackson Dart? I think Russell Wilson's going to be the starter, bro. I don't think Jackson Dart's going to play. I think that Russell Wilson, being the veteran quarterback, coming in, he's got obviously a super elite quarterback in Malik Neighbors. I think they're going to have a good connection right out of the gate. And this is why Russell Wilson is one of the best deep ball throwers in the game. Obviously, he's aged out of the game a little bit. Might not be one of the best deep ball throwers now, but he's still top 7 to 8 in that category in the league as far as deep ball throwing abilities. We know that Malik Neighbors has the ability to get open downfield, stretch the field, make explosive plays, look for the air yardage to be absolutely crazy from Malik Neighbors. And with that connection, I don't think they're going to take Russ out of the game. And I don't think Jackson Dart is going to see the field all that much, to be honest with you. Ladd McConkey, interesting one. So Ladd McConkey obviously is a guy that, just comes out and has an incredible rookie season. The target share was there. And what I like most about Ladd McConkey is he progressed as the season went along. The target share just kept going up and up and up. And I don't really think that there's any wide receivers that can threaten him as far as overall target share. I think he's going to get close to 10 targets a game. I think that Justin Herbert, when cut loose, is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the entire NFL. He has some of the best arm talent. And you got to figure they're going to throw the ball a little bit more this year than they did last year. They were, really, not throwing the ball enough, not playing at a fast enough pace. I think that the pace of play and the overall target share for the wide receivers goes up this year. So I think that Ladd McConkey even has an outside chance of outperforming what he did last year. I like him going in round 2, middle round 2. I think he's a good value. All right, guys, ask away with your fantasy football questions. Does not have to be about running back rankings. It can be about literally anything. Have you tried Fast Draft app yet? I'm going to be honest with you, bro. I have no idea what that is. I don't know what Fast Draft is. Do you think James Conner sees less playing time this season? Will he still hold the rack as long as he stays? I think that James Conner is absolutely going to keep the same exact amount of volume. I think that, will Trey Benson cut into his snap share maybe by like 5% or something very small going into his sophomore season? A possibility, but the coaching staff has pretty much already said that James Conner is going to be leading the backfield. And I think as long as he stays healthy, this dude is one of the most slept on running backs in the league from a talent standpoint. I think he's better than people think. I think he's a better receiving back than people think. And he's going to be used in multiple phases of the game in an offense that I think is going to see some positive touchdown regression. James Conner was good last year in an offense that struggled. So I think that James Conner is going to be good this year. And I don't think he's going to see a lot less playing time. I think he's going to head the backfield altogether. Ask away, everybody. As many fantasy football questions as you want. Let's blow this chat up. Keep it going. If y'all haven't joined the Patreon league yet, I'm trying to fill it up as much as possible. We already have 5 people in the league. So all you got to do is click on my Patreon, go there. You're going to see my 2025 rankings. I have my top 64 out, and you can join the Patreon league and get in a league with us. So it'd be pretty awesome if you would want to join that. I'd love him in my 2 flex league. Connor is the man. Any bold predictions for players this year? Yes. The first one that comes to mind is Calvin Ridley. So I think that Calvin Ridley is going to far exceed his ADP. I mean, if you look at the air yardage last year, his air yardage in his first year in the Tennessee offense was similar to his air yardage on the Falcons in the 2020 season, where he was the wide receiver 4 in all of fantasy. Last year, a lot of people don't know this, but Calvin Ridley actually led the league in air yards. Okay, so if he gets that same kind of air yard share and target share percentage in the offense this year with what's going to be an inevitably improved quarterback situation, I think that Ridley's upside is through the roof. Through the roof. I mean, this dude can be a top 8 fantasy wide receiver. He can be a top 8 fantasy wide receiver this season. And nobody's giving him credit for that kind of upside. And he's going in like round 6 or 7? The dude's going to absolutely smash. So one of my biggest bold takes is going to be Calvin Ridley having a very good chance to be a top 8 wide receiver in fantasy. Let me come up with a running back bold take as well. Running back bold take. Devon Achane, top 3 running back? No, I'm just playing. I don't really think that's going to happen. I think Devon Achane is more like top, where I have him in my rankings. But let's see. Bold running back take. Christian McCaffrey stays healthy all year. Is that bold enough? Christian McCaffrey plays a full season. Is that bold or stupid? I got really pretty high, grabbing him in like the 6th round. Yeah, I mean, I think, isn't that kind of where Ridley's going, though? I feel like his ADP is kind of around the 6th round. Like, I feel like that's where he's going in a lot of underdog drafts. Either way, I think he's going to smash his ADP from wherever he goes. Ask away, guys. Any fantasy football questions you want. Javonte Williams, I love that take on Javonte Williams. As long as Jaden Blue doesn't cut into his opportunity share too much, Javonte Williams is going to go off. In fact, it's funny you brought up Javonte Williams, because guess who my most owned player on Underdog is right now in post-draft best ball? It's Javonte Williams. I mean, he's going so freaking late in drafts. He's running behind a bolstered offensive line and an offense that puts a ton of points on the board. And people forget how good this Cowboys offense is. The Cowboys offense with a healthy Dak Prescott is a top offense in the league, like top 5. They're that freaking good. There's a chance that they're playing from behind in some games this year. They have a tough schedule, meaning they're potentially going to be in games where they're having to air the ball out. The air yardage is going to be crazy. And so if Javonte Williams is involved at all as a receiving back in those games that he's playing from behind, my gosh, Javonte Williams is going to go absolutely nuts. And I think we have a very good year coming for Javonte. I like the top 12 take. Britton Strange will be relevant without Ingram or Hunter ball out. And do you think Brian Thomas still balls? He had his best games with Mac. Didn't look like Thomas did much with Trevor. No, I think that Brian Thomas is still going to be a beast. In fact, I actually made a video earlier today talking about Brian Thomas versus Nico Collins, and I'm leaning Nico Collins over Brian Thomas, but I think that Brian Thomas still has an outside shot to be the wide receiver 1 in all of fantasy. The physical abilities are there. I think that he's going to be even better this year, because I think the target share is going to go up. If you look at last season, he started the season only getting like 6 or 7 targets a game, and then when they saw how freaking good he was, like they shouldn't have known in the first place, they started targeting him closer to 10 times per game. So look for the target share to be increased this year, even with Travis Hunter. John Sanders, do you think Amari and Hampton will take running back 1 from Harris? To answer that question, bro, I know that Amari and Hampton will take the running back 1 job from Harris. He's a significantly better running back. Najee Harris has never been efficient in his career. He's a guy who's always averaged close to right around 4 yards a carry. He's not really a viable pass-catching back outside of that first year with Ben Roethlisberger. And that was a year where he had one game where he had 19 targets in a game, so that kind of skewed the numbers. I don't like Najee Harris. He's not talented, in my opinion, and Amari Hampton is very talented. So I think that Amari Hampton is going to take the job from Harris by like week 3, bro. It's not going to take long. It's not going to take long at all. Yeah, 6, but I have him ranked top 24. I think Thomas Jr. is more of a back end of round 2 with Drake London. Well, I agree with you on Drake London. I think that Drake London shouldn't be going at the beginning of the first round like he is. I don't think I can agree on Brian Thomas. I like Brian Thomas. I like Brian Thomas to have a pretty good season yet again. Drake London, I think what a lot of people aren't accounting for with Drake London is he got like so much of his production in that final game of the season where he had like 40 fantasy points. And so that really skewed the numbers. That's the only reason he finished as like, what was it, wide receiver 5? He would have been like wide receiver 11 or 12 if it weren't for that one game. And so I don't know. I don't know if the consistency has been there enough in Drake London's career. I think he's been a notoriously overdrafted player. Travis Hunter overthrows. Oh, I don't think so, bro. Tyler Sperry, it is good to see you, my man. But Travis Hunter overtaking Brian Thomas, I don't think it's going to happen, bro. I mean, I think that he's going to be an awesome wide receiver too. It's not going to be like a Jamar Chase, T. Higgins thing where, you know, one receiver is so dominant over the other that there's no question who the one is. I mean, I think there's going to be weeks where Hunter definitely outperforms Brian Thomas. But as far as like just being the clear-cut wide receiver ahead of him, I don't see any way in hell that actually happens. Thoughts on Woody Marks versus Taj Brooks, Dynasty and Redraft? Thoughts on Woody Marks or Taj Brooks? Well, most of them are like going undrafted at this point. Dynasty, Hunter is 5 times more talented. I mean, he could be, but he is a rookie coming into, an offense where he's still got to, learn the playbook, everything like that. I don't necessarily think that, you could be right. Hunter could end up having the better career for all we know. Maybe Brian Thomas had his best career season ever in year 1, and Hunter ends up having the way better fantasy career. But coming into the season, I think that with a healthy Trevor Lawrence, I think that Brian Thomas is going to average close to 10 targets a game. Obviously has insane physical abilities and run after the catch abilities. I mean, he ran for over 500 yards after the catch last season. So I don't know. It's like a Rachaad White, Bucky Irving situation. Yeah, yeah. Tyreek in the second round is such great value to pass up. But yes, I love Tyreek Hill for best ball. In fact, of like any fantasy football content creator, I'm one of the only people telling people to actually draft Tyreek Hill. Because like if you look at last season, like obviously he exploded in week 1, then went on a lull after that. But like Tua was hurt for 6 games, right? Tyreek Hill is nothing without Tua. He has to have Tua. So obviously he's very risky because he's got his own injury concerns. He's giving off Antonio Brown vibes. Tua can't stay on the field because of his concussions. So there's a ton of risk factors for Tyreek Hill. But the inherent ceiling is wide receiver 3 or 4 in fantasy. Like, he literally has that kind of upside. I mean, the dude had back-to-back 1,700 receiving yard seasons on the Dolphins, in his first 2 seasons. And the only reason he didn't last year is because Tua missed 6 games and Tyreek Hill was playing with that wrist injury. People forgot that he was playing injured for a large chunk of last season. So there was a very small percentage where him and Tua were actually playing together. And playing together where they're both healthy is what I'm saying. Tyreek is only relevant if Tua is healthy. Hill needs to get traded. Oh yeah, 100%. If Tua is hurt, Tyreek Hill just absolutely just goes down the drain. There's no Tyreek without Tua. Feels gross to click the button on Tyreek, but the value is good. I will say this. Tyreek Hill is definitely better for best ball formats when you're shooting for the highest ceiling possible because you're not so much worried about the risk as much as you're worried about him hitting his top range of his range of outcomes. So I like him better for best ball formats, but I'm drafting him in redraft too. J Money, I hope RJ balls out in Denver. I hope he gets 70-plus playing time like Kamara did and gets 90 to 100 targets. I think Peyton drafted him for a reason. You think he could get top 10 his first year? Yeah, I absolutely do. In fact, I made a video like 4 or 5 days ago talking about my top 3 rookies that I think are going to explode this year. And RJ Harvey's like basically my number 1 rookie at any position. I think that he's absolutely going to go nuts. And mostly because like not just his talent level, obviously led the Big 12 last year and yards per carry efficiency, but this dude, he's playing in an offense that's going to provide him a crazy amount of touchdown upside. So, could he get in the end zone 12, 13 times? Certainly possible. I think he's going to totally take over the backfield from Jaleel McLaughlin and Audric Estime. I don't think those guys are threats whatsoever for his overall snap share or allotted volume. Yeah, Vito, absolutely. Yeah, RJ Harvey to the moon. I mean, I don't see any way he doesn't go off. The dude has got a great combination of size and speed. I mean, what is he, 5'8", 205? He's quick and fast. I mean, this dude's going to go off. RJ Harvey is the reason why Peyton let Javonte walk. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, they had other plans at the running back position. And I think that, I mean, if you look at Javonte Williams, he's in a great situation, right? I think that he's a talented running back in his own right, but he never really had like elite yards per carry efficiency. He never averaged more than 5 yards a carry in a season. Yeah, I knew you meant RJ Harvey. But yeah, I mean, RJ Harvey can easily average like more than 5 yards, not 5 yards a carry, more than 4.5 yards a carry in his career. And Javonte Williams has averaged like only like 4.3. So, I mean, I think they just wanted to upgrade. I think that Sean Payton thought that Javonte Williams has seen his best days and they just wanted to make an upgrade. So, yeah, they invested high draft capital in RJ Harvey for a reason. No doubt about it. RJ Harvey's going to go off. All right, guys, ask away with your fantasy football questions. It doesn't have to be related to my running back rankings. Ask any fantasy football question you want. Let's blow up this chat. And, if you haven't already, join the Patreon League. We got 5 members in the league already. It's going to be a 10-man league. It's going to be a $100 buy-in, $800 for first. All you got to do to join is join the Patreon. The link is all over my channel. Just click on Patreon, join the Patreon, and then you can click on the league that I have there. Join the league. We're doing a $100 buy-in, $800 for first, $200 for second. And it's going to be a lot of fun this year. So join the Patreon League if that's something you're interested in doing. And let's have some fun. Darnold or Tua for best ball? Tua. Hands down, Tua, bro. I think a lot of people forget like just how good the Miami Dolphins offense was just 2 years ago. And this was, when Devon Achane like really first started to break out. Now we have a more experienced, more seasoned Devon Achane, still very young, just as explosive as when he came into the league going into year 3. And we still have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, 2 of the most explosive and talented, unbelievable wide receivers in the game. The eye test will tell you this. With Jalen Waddle, the stats and the eye test will show you this with Tyreek Hill. I'm taking Tua in a heartbeat over Sam Darnold. Are you taking Richardson in best ball? Yeah. In fact, Anthony Richardson's my most owned quarterback in best ball, and it's either going to bite me in the ass or make me win some serious money. But that's kind of what I go for in best ball. We're going for the highest ceiling possible. These players with wide ranges of outcomes that come at an extreme risk but come with a very high ceiling are awesome picks for best ball because you're hoping for the best case scenario. You want him to exceed his ADP by a long shot. And this is a guy who could be a top 6 or 7 overall quarterback if he stays healthy for a full season and actually gets his act together as a passer somewhat. If he can just be an average passer, he's going to be a top 6 or 7 quarterback in fantasy. I got a feeling about Nick Chubb this year if he gets an opportunity with a team. God, I don't know, man. You got to ask yourself, like, when it comes to Nick Chubb, obviously he's one of the most elite rushers we've ever seen. But do teams think he's cooked, or is a team really going to sign him and give him that workhorse role after that injury? I mean, he's definitely aging. He's going to be 29 this year, if not 30. So I don't know. I mean, obviously the dude has all the talent in the world, but I don't know if that a team is necessarily going to give him that opportunity. I don't know if the workload will be there, like, no matter where he goes. Thoughts on Garrett Wilson in redraft versus Olave and JSN, who I'm not touching. Olave doesn't have a quarterback, and JSN is a sophomore. I like Garrett Wilson the most out of the 3. A big reason for this is because, we've seen Justin Fields support a wide receiver 1. I mean, look at, the season with Justin Fields and DJ Moore, right? DJ Moore absolutely went off this season. He displayed an incredibly high weekly ceiling. He showed to just be a really good fantasy wide receiver altogether. And Garrett Wilson doesn't really have any competition for targets. I mean, the departure of Devontae Adams, what the hell else is this team going to do besides throw to Garrett Wilson and dump off to Breece Hall out of the backfield? I mean, Garrett Wilson's going to get 10.5 targets a game. So out of those 3 players, I like Garrett Wilson by far the most. JSN, I actually like JSN to have a pretty good season. Yeah, I like JSN to have a pretty good year, but I'm taking Garrett Wilson ahead of him. And Olave, I like him. I think he's got some crazy upside, but obviously comes with risk because we're just not sure about the quarterback situation. I like Ray Davis as my last pick. James Cook might hold out. It's crazy. Cook scored 18 touchdowns. What isn't even top 10? You think he might hold out, or is Ray Davis a good last pick? I think Ray Davis is a great last pick because I think they're going to use him more. James Cook, is holding out at the beginning of the voluntary OTAs, and it's a bad sign. It's always a bad sign when a running back scores a crazy amount of touchdowns and still doesn't finish that high in fantasy, because what's going to happen that happens to pretty much every player on a season-to-season basis. Touchdown regression, right? Like the touchdown numbers are going to even out, even though he's playing in an elite offense. I think that Ray Davis can steal some touchdowns from him. I think we're going to see some inevitable touchdown regression from James Cook. And I actually like fading James Cook early and drafting a shit ton of Ray Davis. Chubb could be a great backup for one. Yeah, in theory, he could be, Tyler. I mean, I definitely think that he could be. I don't know that teams are going to give him that role. You know what I'm saying? But does he still have some juice in the tank? Possibly. Wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs grab Chubb. Well, that would be nuts. That would be absolutely nuts. Now, if he went to the Chiefs, let's talk about one thing. If Chubbs went to the Chiefs, let's talk hypotheticals here. He could be a problem, right? If he returns to, even half the form of what he was in his rushing prime, he could take over the backfield, right? I mean, it is Nick freaking Chubb after all. Nothing wrong with Isaiah Pacheco. Dude's a good running back, talented in his own right. But Nick Chubb is him, right? He was arguably the best running back in the world at one point. Do you think Prescott is a steal where he's getting drafted? I believe he can still be top 5. Dak Prescott is a massive steal. In fact, I made a video about a week ago talking about how Dak might be the biggest steal in all of fantasy at any position. Because, well, people forget that he was the quarterback 3 just 2 years ago. Just 2 years ago, Dak Prescott was a quarterback 3. Last year, he gets hurt, and due to recency bias, everyone just thinks that, he's just fallen off a cliff. Look, Dak Prescott is going to go off. And now we add George Pickens to the offense, right? So, in a year where he featured CeeDee Lamb and he was just force-feeding CeeDee Lamb all season, we now have a legitimate wide receiver 2 in Dallas. We've bolstered up the offensive line. Dak Prescott is very, very efficient on playing at a team that plays at a fast pace. If the Cowboys are playing at a fast pace, which they probably will with the increased with the increased talent at the wide receiver position. So I think Dak Prescott's going to go off, bro. I think Dak Prescott's one of the biggest steals in fantasy at any position. He's going as like the quarterback 17. The dude was a quarterback 3 in fantasy 2 seasons ago. He's going as a quarterback 17 just because he got hurt last year. My gosh. And let's not forget that Dak still has some rushing upside. He doesn't provide quite the rushing upside that he used to when he was in his rushing prime, but he's still going to run for some touchdowns. If he had 5 rushing touchdowns this year, I wouldn't be surprised. So he not only is he going to look, I was looking at the odds the other day for quarterbacks that are most likely to lead the league in passing, according to Vegas odds. And Dak Prescott is number 3 on that list, if I'm not mistaken. So you had Joe Burrow as the odds-on favorite to lead the league in passing yards. You had Mahomes at number 2. And then you had Dak. Vegas thinks that Dak has the 3rd best chance to lead the league in passing yards. That's good for 3 TDs and 400 yards. Yeah, I mean, he definitely has that kind of weekly ceiling. Gallon B, I took Harvey and I went with David Montgomery for a flex running back 2. Fill in for a dynasty startup. Thoughts on Montgomery for the season? Montgomery's weird, right? Because, typically they use him to kind of bruise up the defense, right? And he's kind of dependent on touchdowns, which you would think, okay, in this Lions offense, that's not a big deal. He's going to come out and get double-digit touchdowns no matter what. But they've already said that they're going to use Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit more along the goal line. And if David Montgomery's touchdowns go down, I'm kind of worried about him because he doesn't really provide receiving upside. And, well, the yards per carry efficiency is just nothing like it used to be for David Montgomery. I think he's getting a little bit older. That being said, I think he's still a safe pick because 8 to 10 touchdowns is probably still a very real possibility. So taking a guy who's going to get 8 to 10 touchdowns on the season as your running back 2 is totally fine. As long as you're not relying on him as your running back 1, you should be totally fine with him as your running back 2. But I wouldn't expect – what did he have, 12 touchdowns last year? I wouldn't expect 12 touchdowns. Yeah, Ben Johnson is – yeah. So obviously we've got some coaching changes. So we're going to see – and that's the thing is coaching changes provide some of the most like some of the craziest changes, for teams, right? Like how's the offense going to operate with new coaching? We're going to have to see. Yeah, everybody, ask away with your fantasy football questions. Ask as many questions as you possibly have. Doesn't have to be about running back rankings. Also, if you want to join the Patreon League, the link to the Patreon is all over my channel. Go ahead and join the Patreon. Get in our league. We're doing a $100 buy-in, $800 for first, and $200 for second. So if you want to win some money this year, you think I'm a chump, you think you could beat everybody on this platform, go ahead, join the league, take our money. I would love to see one of my viewers beat me this year. I did win the Patreon League myself last year. Not to brag, but hey, everybody gets lucky every once in a while, Gibbs was a top 8. Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, everybody, ask away with your fantasy questions. Ask as many fantasy football questions as you want. I'm here for it. And as long as the chat is flowing, I'm going to keep going for a little bit. But yeah, Dak Prescott, definitely one of the biggest steals in fantasy, J Money. Definitely one of the biggest steals in fantasy, in my opinion. Another massive steal, while we're on the topic of steals, another massive steal at the quarterback position is Patrick Mahomes. I mean, for the love of God, this dude is projected to be second in the league in passing yards, according to Vegas, right? So if you look at his weapons, right, we have Xavier Worthy. We have Rashee Rice. Xavier Worthy going into his second season kind of started to come into his own last year. So we should not forget that Pat Mahomes has had 2 seasons already in his NFL career where he's passed for over 5,000 yards. I mean, passing for over 5,000 yards is absolutely ridiculous. So we know what kind of ceiling this guy has, right? He's not going to give you a whole lot of rushing upside, but he could easily be the quarterback 1 in fantasy with his weapons. We've got a healthy Hollywood Brown coming into the season. I absolutely love Patrick Mahomes going at his ADP, and he could also be one of the biggest steals at the quarterback position. In fact, I'm taking a lot of teams where I'm taking Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy and stacking them with Patrick Mahomes and just going full-on Chiefs onslaught. Because if you look at what they're going to do this year, given the fact that they have all their explosive players coming back and healthy, they're probably going to cut Patrick Mahomes loose and not do that ball control bullshit that they were doing all last year, playing that boring-ass football where they just run the clock and play defense. They're not going to do that this year. They're going to air the ball out a lot more. They're going to cut Patrick Mahomes loose and let him be Patrick Mahomes again. And everybody's going to talk about how he's the best quarterback in the game. I'm telling you, this year, 5 games into the season, everybody's going to be talking about how Pat Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. Like they freaking forgot, which is crazy, but I hear Atlanta has Pitts on the trading block. They should have Pitts on the trading block because he hasn't done anything in his NFL career. Well, obviously he had a good first season, but since then really just hasn't done anything. I am not drafting any Kyle Pitts in my underdog drafts, and I'm really avoiding him in all formats, so they probably should trade him. I'd trade him. Montgomery gets 15 plus a game. That's great for a flex. I think Gibbs is a back end of running back 1 beginning around. Ooh, I don't know, man. I think that Gibbs is going to match his ADP this year. I mean, he exceeded his ADP last year, and you've got to figure that, with the increased goal line carries that he's supposedly going to get, you got to figure he's going to match his ADP, right? I'm super high on Gibbs this year. That's why I have him ranked as my running back 2. But, teach their own. I totally respect the take. I just I see Gibbs absolutely exploding this year. And for best ball purposes, the ceiling is just absolutely through the roof. Yeah, Montgomery. I mean, obviously Montgomery was very good last year. I mean, in fact, if you drafted him in the middle rounds, especially for like standard and half PPR leagues, he was absolutely money. Gallon B, glad to see you back, by the way. It's been a while. Yeah, man, dude, I haven't live streamed in a long time. I kind of quit on it last year. Felt bad about it, but yeah, I don't know. I kind of just got a little bit discouraged, but I'm back. And I'm going to be sticking with it this year. So stick with me all season. I am going to be helping you guys win leagues. And if you want to get in the Patreon league with us, you get to play in league with us. That would be fun too. Tootin versus Tank. ETN situation going to be traded. Well, there's obviously a lot of rumors about ETN being traded. I think that these are just rumors for now, but like obviously he very well could be. I mean, they took a running back in the draft, right? An explosive running back at that could end up being very good for fantasy purposes. Tootin versus Tank. Tank Bigsby's a pretty good running back in his own right. That's tough, man. For best ball purposes, I like Tootin. For everyday redraft purposes, I like Tank because I think Tank's going to get more of an opportunity share and be more reliable. But I think that Tootin is the most explosive player in this backfield. Maybe him and Etienne are pretty close in that regard, but Tootin's got that explosiveness, But as far as that backfield, I'm going to clear it up a little bit in my video that I make soon on confusing backfields. I'm literally going to talk about every super confusing backfield in the NFL and like go into details on these players. But for now, I'm still drafting Etienne as the running back 1 in the offense, assuming that he's going to be the most productive running back out of the 3. Montgomery always gets 10 touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, he very well could. He's in what could be the best offense in the league. Do you think it's Pitt's fault or lack of QB play for his dismissal last? Definitely lack of QB play. I mean, Pitts has talent, right? 6'6". He's kind of got that Darren Waller profile, a combination of elite size and speed. Definitely should be a guy that goes off at the NFL level, but, the quarterback situation's been a little bit shaky, obviously, in Atlanta, or very shaky in Atlanta. So I don't know. I don't think it's Kyle Pitts' fault. I don't think Kyle Pitts is a bad player, but I was kind of just poking fun at him saying that he should be traded because he hasn't done anything. The point is, I don't trust him in the Falcons offense. If he goes to an offense that features their tight ends, I might look at him completely differently. All right, guys. Yeah, ask away with your fantasy football questions. I bet if he went to the Chargers, oh, God, yeah. Yeah. Would Justin Herbert slinging it? Yeah. And then Tyler Conklin would just be a nobody at that point. Yeah, I'm interested to see the Chargers offense this year because, I think they're going to cut Justin Herbert loose a little bit, don't you? I mean, they didn't let him pass enough last year, and we know the minute the coaching staff changed, we knew that Justin Herbert was going to be handing the ball off a lot, but I think they've got to cut him loose this year if they want to, have a chance at a Super Bowl, right? Yeah, Bino, he does. I mean, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all hypothetical, though. What do y'all think about the running back situation and for the LA Chargers? I don't know, man. I'm just not sure about Najee Harris. I think he's going to lose his job pretty quick. Oh, yeah, I definitely think Ladd McConkey could be a wide receiver 1. I mean, he was basically a wide receiver 1 last season. Towards the end of the year, he was one of the best wide receivers in fantasy. Pretty much finished the year as a low-end wide receiver 1 and was playing like a mid-range wide receiver 1. The dude obviously runs very good routes. He's got one of the best quarterbacks in the league slinging him the rock. And, yeah, I think he's going to be a wide receiver 1 this year. I think he's a pretty solid value going off in the middle of the second round. I don't think he's going to smash his ADP. I don't see him being a player that is giving you first round value, but I think he's going to at least he's going to outperform his ADP slightly. I think he's going to be looked at as like a 1-2 turn kind of player by the end of the year. I think he's got that kind of upside for sure. And J.K. Dobbins could technically come back with that weird contract. Dude, there we go. I'm back up. About that, guys. But yeah, what I was saying about J.K. Dobbins is one of the best yards per carry efficiency running backs in the entire league. This dude is he's an incredibly talented running back. I mean, he really is. And you saw it last year. His yards per carry efficiency was very good. He was busting explosive plays. The dude was having a phenomenal season before he again went down with an injury. But for J.K. Dobbins's sake, he actually played a pretty healthy season, considering the fact that he usually misses the entire year. It was good to see him play a majority of the season at least. And I think that J.K. Dobbins, if he came back to the Chargers, would probably go off just like he was doing before he got hurt last year. I think Hampton can take the job, but Najee Harris' best ability is his availability. Dude is always available, which can be a headache scenario for him. Yeah, it's crazy. So if I'm not mistaken, Najee Harris has not missed a game in his NFL career yet. I'm pretty sure that's true. So at this point, Najee Harris is a fantasy pest. Y'all know what I mean by a fantasy pest. He's somebody that just kind of hangs in there. He's always on the field. He's reliable. Doesn't really have a fumbling problem. and just he's gonna come out and he's gonna give you 4 yards of carry and be a decent goal line back. So like he's gonna cut into the production of whatever running back one is in front of him that has more talent and bust bigger plays. But if I'm not mistaken, Najee Harris hasn't busted a 50-yard play in his fantasy career. In his three seasons in the NFL, I don't think he has a play bigger than 50 yards, whether it be on a run or a pass. This is absolutely sad. So I just don't buy the talent. I think that Hampton's definitely going to take the job. Yeah, guys, ask away with your fantasy questions. Ask as many fantasy questions as possible. Shard Harris is based in Montgomery. I can see it. Hey, I just want to be I just want to be clear on David Montgomery. I don't think that David Montgomery is a bad running back, and I don't think he's going to have a terrible year. I like Gibbs so much this year, and I like him to take some goal line work away from him. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, like I can see it, Tyler, but I don't know, man. Like to me, Montgomery is a better running back. I know that he doesn't put out good yards per carry efficiency numbers, but yeah, I mean, he's definitely in a better offense, so he's gonna have more touchdowns. J Money will Deontay Johnson make the team? I don't think I don't know. I mean, like, I'll tell you this. In pre-draft best ball, I was drafting Deontay Johnson. But I don't know. Top 5 flex players. I'd have to get back to you on that one because I am going to make my flex ranking soon in a video, and I want to give you a good answer to that question. I don't want to go off the dome on that one. Because I want to give you a good answer. So I don't really have my top 5 flex right now. Oh yeah, you mean like Monty does the dirty work? Yeah, absolutely. You know, Monty's that guy that he's going to run the ball up the middle for 3.5 yards of carry, and then Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get around the edge and provide all the explosive plays, be used in the passing game a lot more. That's just kind of how that offense operates. So in that sense, he is a lot like Najee Harris. So I definitely see what you mean now. Yeah, in that regard, he's very much like Najee Harris. In a deep league, is Jerome Ford going? Oh, yeah, I definitely think Jerome Ford has value. I mean, obviously, we draft Quinshon Judkins, and the offense is, I don't know, like questionable to say the least. But Jerome Ford, what he gives you is elite speed, elite big playability. We've seen it, you know, even with him in a backup role, you know, the dude can bust an 80-yard touchdown run at any point. Speed creates big playability, as we know. So given the fact that he's as fast as he is, he's always going to have some deep league value and some best ball value because of his explosiveness. And if you're ever seriously lacking at your flex position, you could plug him in and just hope for a big play, basically. So, yeah, I think Jerome Ford definitely has value. What are some under-the-radar backfields that could explode this year? Under-the-radar backfields. I think Jacksonville. I mean, there's so much confusion with that backfield that nobody wants to touch the running backs. But depending on what format you're in, I mean, if you're in best ball formats, I think that taking ETN or Bayshal Tootin or even Tank Bigsby can be a good play because I think that one of these running backs is going to get cut out some way or another, whether it be being traded or whatever it may be. I think that there's going to be 2 main running backs in this backfield. And given the fact that we have 2 stud wide receivers, a healthy Trevor Lawrence and everything like that, I think the offense can provide a lot of touchdown upside. So, yeah, I think that Jacksonville is definitely a very under-the-radar backfield that could provide a lot of fantasy points. It's just a matter of who it's going to be with them. Like, who's it going to be in Jacksonville, right? It's probably the most confusing backfield in the entire NFL. But very high upside from a standpoint of just overall accumulated points. Who's going to be the most slept-on offense this season? Most slept-on. Oh, Kansas City. Hands down. Everyone's sleeping on the Kansas City I don't know if that counts as a sleeper because it's the freaking Chiefs, you know. But like people literally think that they're going to continue to just play ball control and play defense. And they're not going to operate the same way this year as they did last year. They have all their explosive players healthy. They're going to make changes, right? Good coaching staffs make changes. This team won a lot of really close games. Andy Reid is smarter than that. He knows that the point differential is going to need to be higher if they're going to want to have an elite record again and make a Super Bowl run. So they're going to cut their best player loose, Pat Mahomes, and he's going to be slinging the ball all over the field. And so I don't know if the Chiefs really count as a sleeper because they're the Chiefs, but to me, people are sleeping on Patrick Mahomes, drafting him as a quarterback 8. So that's probably the most slept on offense this season. These are good ones, though. Broncos, yeah, Gallen, do the Broncos really count as a sleeper offense? You know, it's kind of hard to figure out what qualifies. I mean, I feel like with the breakout of Bo Nix and as good as they looked in certain weeks last year, I guess they qualify as more of a sleeper than the Chiefs, though, so I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite. Maybe the Broncos probably count. The Patriots is a good one because that's definitely in the qualification of being a sleeper. They added Stephon Diggs. He's already acting up, you know, partying on boats and stuff. But, hey, you got to have a little bit of fun, right? I can't fault him for it. I still think Stephon Diggs is going to make the offense a whole lot better, and obviously we added running back depth. So TreVeyon Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson, 2 very good running backs. Ramondre Stevenson is a very good running back. I mean, he's going to function really good as a running back, too, in the Patriots offense. So I think the Patriots could be a slept-on offense. They're actually projected to be a decent team this year. I think a lot of people don't realize that. But if you look at the win-loss totals, Vegas actually has the Patriots being like an average NFL team this year. Oh, yeah, Tampa Bay offense is going to be great, but that definitely doesn't count as a sleeper offense. Tampa Bay offense doesn't count as a sleeper offense. They're too good. They're too obviously good. Yeah, I think Tampa Bay offense is going to be great. I mean, they added Emeka Egbuka. They have, you know, already arguably the best wide receiver duo in the NFL with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So, yeah, Tampa is going to be awesome. Checo will take his role back. Love him in round 5 or 6. Not if Nick Chubb goes to the Chiefs, bro. But, yeah, as of right now, Pacheco is definitely taking his role back. There's no doubt about it. The dude was playing hurt last year. It's like people forget that. They're like, well, why is Kareem Hunt getting all the volume? Isaiah Pacheco wasn't 100%. He's going to come in this year. He already bulked up. He's looking 100% healthy well before the season. So I think Pacheco is going to absolutely smash. Yeah, all these, bro, I agree, J Money. All these Chiefs are coming at such a good value. Mahomes, Rice, Pacheco, the entire offense. So this offense does count as a sleeper offense. I'm going to validate my take here. The Chiefs offense is definitely a sleeper offense because look at all these players being slept on. Rice should be going higher. Pacheco should be going higher. Mahomes should be going higher. I will say Worthy probably going to have a real breakout season. Yeah, I can certainly see that happening, Gallen. But I do think that Rice is going to be the wide receiver 1 in the offense. But it doesn't mean that Xavier Worthy isn't going to go off. This could be the best offense in the NFL. They can support more than one wide receiver for sure. You think Baker can repeat his season last year? No, I don't. I think that we saw Baker Mayfield at his absolute ceiling. I mean, this dude obviously has no real rushing upside. I mean, he's got some slept-on ability to scramble and run a little bit more than like people think he does, but he's not an elite rushing upside quarterback, right? He finished last year as like what, the quarterback 7? I don't think there's any way in hell he ever finishes that high again in fantasy. Oh, there I am. I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what in the world keeps happening with my stream, but I'm back. So, Chiefs are one of the easiest teams for correlation in best ball. Yeah, Vino, they absolutely are. I mean, you know, you look at the Chiefs and the value that you're getting on the players, and it's like you don't have to draft Rashee Rice until, well, now he's going around 3. Initially, he was going a little bit lower than that. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, Rashee Rice, value. Isaiah Pacheco, value. Xavier Worthy, value. Patrick Mahomes, one of the best values in fantasy. What about the suspension issue with Rashee Rice? It's amazing he's still being drafted kind of high. I don't know. I don't want to fade Rashee Rice because of that yet. We know that these things tend to loom, and obviously this was 2 off seasons ago, so there is the possibility that he gets hit hard with it this year. I probably haven't done enough research into the suspension allegations for Rashee Rice. You actually probably know more about it than I do. I've still been taking him in best ball drafts, so I hope I'm not hanging myself. But let me know, Aaron, in the comments kind of what you've learned as far as the suspension for Rashee Rice. Did Baker finish as a quarterback 4? Oh, Tyler, I got to get to your question on Godwin. Yeah, sorry about that, man. Thoughts on Godwin? No, they added a rookie, and there are 3 wide receivers went off last year. Well, if you look at last year, Godwin was the wide receiver 1. My most drafted player on Underdog, actually, Chris Godwin. I told a lot of people about that last year. Chris Godwin was my most drafted player on Underdog, and I looked like a genius through the first 6 weeks of the season when Chris Godwin was the wide receiver 1 in fantasy. Then he obviously had a serious injury and was out for the year. But he's got almost an entire year to recover by the time the season starts. I think that he's going to be 100% by the start of the season. I think that Evans is freaking old now, and I think that Evans is still really good, but he's going to lose some targets to Chris Godwin, even though, Godwin is a slot guy. If Evans plays on the outside, I still think that the overall target share is going to favor Godwin this year. I'm not worried about Emeka Egbuka taking too many targets from Chris Godwin. I think Chris Godwin's going to play out of the slot and eat out of the slot just like he was last year. And he's one of those slot receivers that's not just going to catch short passes for you. He has the ability to get open downfield. He is, in my opinion, one of the best run-after-catch wide receivers in the entire game. And even though I think the Baker is going to regress a little bit, I think Godwin's going to be the number 1 wide receiver in the offense. And I think he's going to be one of the best values probably going off the board right now, to be honest with you. What I've heard, it'd be next season suspension, if at all. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is these these suspensions, they're almost like a joke nowadays. It's like these players get in trouble and they get punished 3 years later. So I don't know. I just don't think that we can let that scare us off from Rashee Rice too much. But, maybe Aaron knows something that I don't know about the Rashee Rice suspension, but I'm not letting it scare me away from Rashee Rice at the moment. Quarterback with – God, he was quarterback 4. I thought he was quarterback 7. Man, what in the world? Quarterback 7, he might have been quarterback 7 in fantasy points per game is what I was thinking. But, yeah, quarterback 4. Goodness gracious. Yeah, there is no way that that's his ceiling. That's his absolute ceiling. Baker Mayfield's not going to exceed that. It's basically impossible. He didn't have any rushing upside. Quarterback 4 points per game. I don't know where I was getting quarterback 7. That's weird. I like Debo going to the Washington offense. I mean, obviously he's a multifunctional player who can be used as a running back and a wide receiver. I don't think they're necessarily going to do that in Washington. They're not really in need of – they could use some running back help, but I don't know if Debo is going to be used that much out of the backfield. But, he's a guy who has some of the best big play ability and some of the best run after catch abilities in the league. He's arguably the best yards after catch wide receiver in the entire game. Some people would say that. And so being in an offense with this kind of upside, well, I like Debo in the Washington offense. And I think if anything else, it's going to allow Terry McLaurin to get open more. So I think it's going to help Terry McLaurin more than it's going to help anybody, but it's definitely going to help Jaden Daniels as well. The offense is probably going to explode again. Could we see some slight regression from Jaden Daniels as far as an overall fantasy standpoint, even with added weapons? Definitely possible. He was, looking like the best quarterback in the NFL at one point last year. So some regression probably, but Debo helps the offense for sure. I'm just saying based on previous news from that, I'm not sure myself if this will take place for him or not. Yeah, I just think it would be jumping the gun a little bit to be fading Rashee Rice because of the news at this point, especially if we're not sure that any sort of suspension is going to happen. Baker Mayfield 2025, 10 rushing touchdowns. 10 rushing touchdowns? You think Baker's going to have 10 rushing touchdowns, bro? That'd be awesome. I'm not betting on it. I wonder what – okay, just for curiosity, once I'm done with this live stream, I'm going to check the over-under on Baker's projected rushing touchdown totals, and I bet you it's 3.5. I bet you Vegas has him at 3.5. Oh, okay. I thought you were saying – oh, I guess I read that wrong. Baker Mayfield. Oh, okay. Do you think the Penix to Drake London connection increases this year? They looked good in 3 games last season. I'll tell you this. It could be, but I'm not going to be drafting a lot of that stack because I think that Drake London's ADP is just too high. So I'm not going to be drafting much of Drake London. So I'm not going to be drafting much of the Drake London Michael Penix stack because I don't know. I just don't like where he's going in the draft. I have about like 5% Drake London in my underdog drafts, maybe 4%, not very much. Baker had 10. I don't think J Money. I don't think that's right, bro. I like Baker had 10 rushing touchdowns last year. Are you sure? Are you sure Baker had 10 rushing touchdowns last year? Can we? Yeah, I think we need to fact check that. I don't think that's right, bro. I don't think that's right. I think he had like 3. What I don't like about Drake London is, well, he got a ton of his points in the last game of the season. His fantasy numbers are skewed because of that. And I just think he's going too high. It's really not that I don't like Drake London, the player. Obviously, wow, that's crazy. I guess, man, I got to look up those Baker stats just out of curiosity. I mean, I believe you, bro. What don't you like about Drake London? Well, I love the player. I love the fact that, he's 6'5" and runs 4.5 40. Obviously, one of the top physical specimens in the league. Had a good season, but obviously you can make the argument that, Penix didn't play a whole lot. In the minute that Penix stepped in, him and Drake London looked really good together. But I don't know. I just haven't seen enough from Drake London in his career to justify him being like a borderline first-round pick. I mean, he's going at the 1-2 turn in a lot of drafts, sometimes 13th, 14th overall. Overall, what I don't like about Drake London is I think the draft capital is just too high. I'm not sure on the overall efficiency of the offense for the Falcons. There are offenses that I would much rather bet on. I would rather wait and draft a running back where you're drafting Drake London and just draft Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's going to have a better season than Drake London, and you can get him in like a round and a half later. Oh, Jordan Mason in Minnesota. That's a good question, bro. And you're asking one of the biggest Aaron Jones fans in the world this question. I am a massive Aaron Jones fan. I think he's one of the most electric and efficient running backs of the past 10 years in the NFL. He's been slept on from a talent perspective his whole career, but he can't stay healthy. He can't stay on the field. And we know that they're going to give Jordan Mason a goal line role pretty much right out of the gate. So, yeah, I mean, I love Jordan Mason because I think he's arguably one of the best handcuffs, if not the best handcuff in all of fantasy, because he's going to have a goal line role right away. He's going to be playing in an offense that provides him decent touchdown upside. I think that this offense is going to be fine. People have their concerns about it. Dude, they have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. This team's going to be moving the ball. They have TJ Hawkinson. They are loaded with pass catchers. This team's going to be moving the ball. They're going to provide touchdown upside. Jordan Mason's going to be getting a lot of that goal line work, and Aaron Jones is probably going to get, I don't want to say he's probably going to get hurt. Injuries are very hard to predict, and I don't want to see my boy go down. But Aaron Jones is notorious for getting hurt, and in that case, Jordan Mason becomes an automatic running back 1. Thoughts on A.J. Brown this year with new OC? I like A.J. Brown to bounce back this year. A big reason for this is because if you look at the target share last year, it went down by almost 2 targets a game. He was averaging close to 10 targets a game just 2 seasons ago when he dominated. And this last year, he averaged 7.5, something like that. So I don't know. Is Saquon really going to touch the ball as much this year? I feel like they're going to have to pass the ball more. They're just going to have to. Saquon can't touch the ball 350 times and be a viable starting option because he's going to get freaking hurt. So they're going to have to take a step back from the run game at least slightly. I think this is going to open up more targets for A.J. Brown. I think he's a good value going in the middle of the second round. And with his situation now, I think that he is going to have a pretty damn good season. And he still had, 1,000 receiving yards last year? The dude's still, he's still a money pick for fantasy. I think he's going to have a good season. Yeah, appreciate you joining the league, Pino. It's going to be a fun season, and we are filling up quick in the Patreon League. If you guys haven't If you guys haven't joined the Patreon League yet, the link is all over my YouTube channel. You just click on Join Patreon. You can join the league. We have 5 people in our league. It's going to be a 10-man league, $800 for first, $200 for second. So go ahead and join that Patreon league before it fills up. My guess is it's going to fill up like probably in the next 2 weeks. So, yeah. All right, guys. I'm probably going to be getting out of here. I've been on here for about an hour, 41 minutes. That's about as long as I wanted to stream. So I'm probably going to get out of here. I appreciate you guys coming in and being a part of the stream. And I am going to be streaming a lot this year. So I will see you guys soon. And have a good rest of your night.